Hello, hello world, hello internet. Happy Thursday. I think it's Thursday, right? It is Thursday. Yeah, so good morning, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. Thank you for joining us here at Code It Live. I'm your host, Sam Basu. Thankfully, you're not going to watch me code today. It is a .NET Thursday, .NET Dev Show. But today I have my very good friend, Alvin Ashcraft, with me today. Alvin, how are you, sir?
Good. How you doing, Sam?
I am not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, like I said, folks on these Thursdays are sometimes stuck with me coding, but thankfully you're in better hands today with Alvin. Yeah, so yeah, it's early morning. I think both Alvin and me are on West Coast. Well, it's not too early; it's 10 in the morning for us. But Alvin, yeah, tell us a little bit about who you are and what do you do.
Yeah, so I'm Alvin Ashcraft. I'm a longtime blogger, developer, Windows Dev MVP. A lot of you might know me from my blog at alvinashcraft.com, where I have the morning dew. I post links every day.
Oh wait, are you sharing things? Because let me pull up
yeah,
your
I can
desktop
share.
there.
I can share
Yeah,
that
yeah.
if you want.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so the Morning Dew, that's where most of us know Alvin from.
Yeah.
He's famous. You're underselling yourself. He's famous.
So yeah, I post links every day for .NET, web, Windows developers.
Yeah, very good stuff.
Yeah.
And while we're getting started, chat room is getting filled up. Keepers for tea. Hello. Good to see you, and glad you could join us. All right, so Alvin is kind of a hardcore Windows dev, and I kind of share a little bit of his passion, but I dip a little bit on the dark side as well with Mac and iOS. But Alvin is as hardcore as it gets with Windows, right? So I wanted to have Alvin on to kind of walk us through with WinUI and ProjectReUnion. This is exciting stuff. It's kind of a redo of what we consider like the modern Windows UI stack. So let me ask you, Alvin, like, what's your background in Windows Dev, and how long have you been doing this?
Sure. So I've been doing .NET Dev since .NET was a thing about 20 years now, and Windows Dev, I got into WPF right around the time that came out, I think 2006.
2006, I remember.
Yeah. So
I don't know, internet, if you can tell, like we are old. We have been doing this for a while, but yeah. So you have seen the whole journey.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the whole evolution. I started originally, I think, back with VB3 in the mid '90s.
Wow. Yeah, so we had WinForms first. We had WPF join the bandwagon in 2006. I remember like the Avalon days and when it first came out. And it's a rich ecosystem now. Like modern XAML development is just a lot of great tools, great ecosystems. But then along the way, we have had UWP, which was, when did that come out? That was 2011, 12? Maybe
Yeah, right around
later
that time
on.
with Windows 10.
Yeah, so Windows 10 was out, then UWP became a thing, and then WinUI is now the big thing to get into. So I know you're into this, and the other reason I wanted Alvin on is you have taken the pain and the trouble to write a book about this, right?
Yes.
Which is a lot of effort. I have written, so speaking of Windows 10, Alvin, you might find this funny. I have written one book in my life, and it's on Windows 10 development, which was right before UWP. And by the time the book was published and hit the shelf, it was already obsolete. But again, that's the thing, and it's an experience. I think everybody, if you have the time, you should try writing a book. It teaches you a lot of things. But you wrote a book about Windows UI. That's how passionate and excited you are.
Yeah, I've got a book from Packet Publishing, Learn WinUI 3. Came out in March.
Congratulations.
And you're right about things being obsolete. So there's some references to ProjectReUnion in here, but the package names have changed since the book went to press. But we're keeping up with changes on the GitHub repo.
Do you have a link there? I mean, do you want to pull something up? Like, where can people find this?
Yeah,
find
sure.
Your book?
I mean, the easiest way is really just to go to Amazon and search for my name. It's the only thing that comes up.
Well, that's not something you hear every often. Just go to Amazon and search for my name.
Yep,
there we go. Nice. Yeah, so folks, if you're into WinUI 3, this may be a good place to start. kind of walk you through everything that it is. But Alvin, let's step back a little bit because, again, Microsoft has phenomenal engineering teams and marketing teams, but sometimes their messaging gets a little convoluted. So let's walk back a little bit because WinUI 2 was a different thing, right?
Right. Yeah, so WinUI 2, that was a set of controls and libraries on top of UWP. They're available that you could install as NuGet packages in your UWP projects.
So let's see. I mean, if I remember this right, like part of the reason why they did this was UWP ran on every version of Windows 10, but it was very closely tied to the Windows updates. Is that right?
Right. So when you create a UWP project, you had to pick which version of Windows would be your minimum version, your target version.
Right.
So you were tied to that version of the SDK.
Right, and they wanted to push out more SDK and more developer bits outside of Windows. So WinUI 2 was an effort to kind of separate that stack from Windows itself.
Right.
So WinUI 2 was entirely UWP based?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Okay, so it was a whole bunch of controls. Was it community driven or was it all Microsoft?
No, there was community involvement as well because it's open source, and you've got the Windows Community Toolkit, which was it's kind of gives you like preview of what's coming up next in the WinUI stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so WinUI 2 that started probably 2 years back, and it's still going strong, right? It's fine.
Yep, they still have releases coming out regularly.
Yeah, and then came WinUI 3, which I remember like they first started talking about WinUI 3 maybe a year and a half back.
Yeah, I think it was like November 2019 we got the first alpha.
Yeah. I remember this was at Ignite, one of their conferences where they dropped the first alpha, and then they have been churning since then. So give us the 10,000-foot thing. What is WinUI 3?
So WinUI 3 kind of takes the next step from what WinUI 2 did, where it takes that entire UI layer and pulls it out of the SDK so that you can take a version of WinUI 3 and use it across different versions of Windows 10. And they can release more frequently. They're not tied to the Windows releases like they were with UWP. And so that's kind of like the high level stuff.
So WinUI 3, like they call it like at the very top, like it's a full-on UX framework, right? It's a native user experience. Everything that you're doing is native, but then this also works outside of UWP. Like this is also for regular desktop, right? Like Win32.
Right. So that's the Win32 is actually the only supported version of WinUI 3 that's available
as of now. Yep.
Yeah, the UWP piece of it is still in preview.
I see. Keepers Fati is asking, what is UWP? That's a convoluted question, my friend. But it is Universal Windows Platform, right?
Yes.
So back when Windows 10 was first released, they had different things going on, and they wanted to. So Universal is universal within the Microsoft realm, within Windows. So a UWP app is a set of universal tools and UI frameworks that work across all of the Windows devices, which means your Surface laptops, which means your little tablets, your Xbox, your HoloLens, your like the big screen Surface TVs. What are those called, Alvin? Like Surface Hubs?
Surface Hub, yeah.
Yeah. So it works everywhere, and that's a good promise actually, because you write it once and it works on every Windows device. But you're only universal within that Windows family. You can't go to iOS or Android with that. So that was UWP. But this is WinUI 3 is a little bit more evolved. And eventually you will be able to write for UWP with WinUI 3. But right now they're starting off with the desktop story first. Right? Okay. And then what is ProjectReUnion?
So WinUI 3 is a piece of ProjectReUnion. The overall goal of ProjectReUnion is to bring together all Windows development, so for desktop and all the devices. It's kind of, I don't know that they're going to bring all the WinForms and WPF into the fold, but I think I don't know, the name Reunion kind of implies that you'll have one place to go for all your Windows needs.
And keepers for T or anybody else who's watching, like the URLs that Alvin has pulled up, you see it. Like, I mean, do a search on WinUI 3. You're going to land right on this page.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah. So to me, Project Reunion was an effort, or still is, an effort to bring consistency across all of the Windows development stacks, right? So the way you do like I/O across on WPF versus UWP, it's different, right? And then they wanted to bring that consistency. So when you're building for Windows desktop, you have the same way, and yeah, you're pulling up the GitHub repo. This is all open source, like WinUI 3 and Project Reunion. It's all open source. Yeah, so this started like a year and a half back, and then we have had one major release, like a milestone back in March, which was the Project Reunion 0.5 release. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. 0.5. There've been a couple minor releases with some bug fixes since then, but that's the major one.
Now with this, like, and this kind of confused people a little bit because they are actually shipping WinUI 3 as a part of this itself, like Project Reunion 5.5. I mean, this is actually production ready now, so we can go build apps for WinUI 3 that run on top of Project Reunion 0.5, and they will be officially supported by Microsoft. So if your enterprise wants to build WinUI 3 apps, now it is supported. So let me ask you this, Alvin. If you are to start a brand new Windows desktop project today, would you choose WinUI 3?
Oh, that's a good question. Today, I probably would still wait a little bit since we're not at that 1.0 reunion.
And when is the 1.0? They're targeting like November of this year, correct? Or maybe later? Okay.
Yeah, it says Q4 right now, but I think it's November.
Yeah, so November of 2021 is going to be interesting because you see dotNET 6 come out with Blazor and Maui and all that goodness. But along that, WinUI 3 should get much more matured as well because dotNET Maui depends a little bit on WinUI to reach the desktop. But I think by then, you're right. Like you want to give it maybe a little bit more time, but by November of this year, you should have a lot more confidence.
Yeah, I think you should have a lot of confidence, at least on the Win32 piece of it by then.
Right. Cool. So you have clearly been playing around with WinUI 3 for a while. And then how long did it take you to write the book? When did you start?
So I started around February of last year and then worked on it through the whole summer. It was pretty much ready to go last October, but we just sat on it for a while because Microsoft was delayed in releasing WinUI 3. So we picked up with some last-minute revisions in this past January, February.
Cool. Very cool. Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
So what's the latest? What's happening? Can you tell us more about what's happening in WinUI 3 or parts of it that excite you the most? Can you show us things?
Yeah, I can show you some things. Here, let me pull up the URL for the repo for the book too. So some of the samples I'll be pulling up, they're all out here on.
Oh, nice.
GitHub.
What did you search on? It was Learning Labs?
I just searched GitHub Learn WinUI 3.
GitHub Learn WinUI 3. Yeah, I see it. So I'm going to post this. There you go, folks. There you have it. That's the link. So you have things split out nicely in chapters. That's good.
Yeah, and within the chapters, there's the for most of them, it has the starting code and the finish code, so you can walk through with each chapter and do the steps. If you didn't do previous chapters, you can just pick up at any one of them here.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. The start and the end. So, okay, so show us a couple of things that you really like.
Yeah, let me just pull up this one of the sample chapters here.
And while you're doing that, like I see you're doing Visual Studio 2019 preview. Do you need that for the latest bits?
I think it works with the regular 29.
As well.
Yeah, it's got all the requirements on the docs page here.
Okay.
Visual Studio support. Here you go. So for WinUI 3, you need 16.9 at least, but you have some things missing with
the hot reload stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you get the preview, you'll get all that goodness.
Yeah. Live on the bleeding edge, everybody, and just bleed out
Right.
when things don't work. No, and then the good thing is actually, Alvin, I have this as well. Like I have the regular stable Visual Studio and the preview installed side by side, so you don't have to take that much of a risk on your dev machine now. Because like if anything goes wrong, you can come back to the stable one. Like for your some of this is like exploratory, maybe just looking around. But if you have like regular development that you're doing, you can still be on the Visual Studio stable and then look at the preview for some of the upcoming features.
Yeah, I've got the same thing down here. I've got regular and the preview. I do the same thing with Edge. I've got the 3 different versions, trying things out.
Nice. You're hardcore on Edge, I see.
Yeah, for a while there, you needed the Canary version for some of the web view features.
Yeah.
But I think you can do most of that with the stable one now.
Okay, and while it's pulling up, our good friend and chief heckler is here in town, Dan Siegel. Hey, Dan, good to see you. Good to see you. So Dan is talking about Maui, and he's involved in a few tools that, Dan, we should talk. But Maui Check, this is a tool that Reddit created. He is a lead dev on .NET Maui, and he's getting nightly bills of Pre-4, which is .NET Preview 4. So he is definitely more on the cutting edge than most of us.
Nice.
He's like, I'm happy with Preview 3 because like nothing else is dropping until build. So yeah, he is living on the edge.
Nice.
Well, if you're like Dan, and you're building tools for the cutting edge, you do want to live there.
Yeah, you really need to.
Yeah. So when you look at like this app that you're showing, it says Universal Windows. So this is a UWP app, right?
Yeah, most of the samples in the book are UWP. It's got some Win32 ones as well, and actually there's some WPF and WinForms too, where it's
nice.
Doing some XAML islands with the WinUI stuff, which is also not released yet. That's all still in preview.
Yeah. Wait, so weren't we able to do XAML islands before, or is it just being redone?
I think it's the integration with the whole WinUI and ProjectReUnion that's still happening. Okay. You can get it from the community toolkit.
I see. Okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. So.
And if you're running this on like let's look at your references. Like what are you using? What's your framework?
So this one.
So that's Microsoft WinUI.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this will look different now. This is the book code, which is the last preview before Reunion. So you'll see different namespaces here with the ProjectReUnion in there.
Yeah. And I've noticed, Alvin, like if you run this on desktop, they actually still have a separate project. Like it's just the package project, which is the app that you want to deploy. But your references then look like, okay, that's Reunion, and now it's WinUI. So it looks a little different, but same idea, right? It should eventually run on both places the same.
Yeah, so I've got another instance of VS here, and you can see what creating a new project will look like. And the joys of running in the VM here.
Yeah, I do that too. So they say that. Sorry, Alvin, what are you saying?
No, I was just saying that we'll see when this comes up that there are the separate universal windows and the desktop ones.
The thumb rule of folks who are on MacBooks, which Alvin and me both are, the thumb rule of how hard you're pushing your computer is when you are plugged in and your battery goes down, that's when you know that you're doing stuff to it. Okay. Keepers for T is asking, can you also define what a page looks like in HTML, or is it only XML? Haha.
Mm-hmm.
Keepers for T, we are old people. We don't deal with HTML. It's all good. You can do HTML. There's a web view project. We can embed all kinds of HTML, but this is all XAML, my friend. This is all XAML. It's the Windows XAML that you see, and Alvin's going to show you. But what were you trying to show, Alvin? Sorry, I missed you. Like you were showing the two Visual Studio things, right?
Yeah, so when you go to create a new project, you can see here you've got a blank app, WinUI
Desktop, and
desktop.
then there you go.
Yep.
So they have it separated out. It's just going to be different NuGet packages.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can see the one in desktop has the ProjectReUnion tag on that. That's part of the stable reunion release. And then if you want to live on the edge with the preview thing, you can play with the UWP version.
Yeah. All right. So you were about to show us something, but before you get into that, Dan has a comment. Dan always has a comment. macOS won't charge my battery to 100%. Really? Stated reason is, yeah, I've seen that. Like sometimes, even if it's plugged in, it's not up to 100%. But if I unplug it, it may be 45 minutes of runtime. Oh, you're. Yeah, I thought you got a newer MacBook, Dan. It might be aging a little bit, but I mean the batteries do last quite a bit. To be honest, like Mac hardware is good, but you can see like what we are doing here. Like Alvin and me and Dan, like we are running VMs and other things on it, so it's really pushing the GPU and the fans quite a bit. So it takes a toll on the battery.
Yeah, and this is a MacBook from late 2014. It's still chugging along.
Yeah, Macs last a long time. Okay, so we are in a WinUI 3 project. This is for UWP, and you're looking at main page XAML, which is the first starting page of your app. What are we looking at?
So we're looking at the main page. We've got a grid here that's got some header information. Maybe since the preview here doesn't seem to be coming up, maybe I could just run it so you can see what this looks like before we look at the code. Sure. But it's got a header area here and then a grid. So this is just a simple app for creating a media collection where you can add, say, your books, your CDs, your DVDs, or Blu-rays, catalog those.
Okay, we'll wait for that to come up. And in the meantime, Dan is saying, I remember the XAM Dev Summit. That was a good time, Dan, probably 2 years back. Yeah, that's how old his MacBook is, which shouldn't be that old. And Kippers for T is talking about M1. So this is the new chip, the Apple chip, supports trickle charge. So it won't charge to 100% by design. I did not know that. Interesting. Yeah, I have not gotten the M1 yet. I see a lot of people have it. It's nice, and it looks like so this is the thing with the Apple ecosystem, right? As long as you're within the walled garden, things are nice. So when they can take over the chip architecture and the cooling down, they probably have it a little bit more optimized than what Intel chips will do.
Yeah, I imagine they do. I wonder if any of the folks out there running the M1 with maybe some Windows ARM in a VM.
Yeah. So good stuff.
There we go. Finally up.
There we go.
So here you've got the simple grid. I have a couple of items in my collection here. You can filter it by the type of media. You go and add an item, and it navigates you to another page. So we can say, what's your favorite movie? We're here.
Matrix.
Okay.
Yeah. Matrix 4 is coming sometime. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the release date is. Are they doing 4 and 5 back-to-back filming?
I don't know.
I think they might be. Anyway, so I can also say if this is in my collection or if I loaned it out to somebody. And then you've got this fancy button here where you can stay on this page, create another new one, or save and return, goes back to the list. So it's just a simple app.
Okay, so simple UI, but you are using a bunch of things in here. You have navigation. Now we have Dan in the house, right? So I hope you're doing MVVM.
Yes, you can see my view models are here.
That's good. Perfect.
And I would have used Prism, but for the book, I wanted to kind of show the guts of how things work. So I created my own bindable base and have all the notify property change stuff in there.
There you go. Yeah, it's good to know how the internals work before you start using something else.
Yeah.
But this is good. So folks watching, MVVM is a design pattern. And you have Dan Siegel in the house, who's the expert maintainer of Prism. Model view, vModel, it's a pattern that works really well for XAML C# code bases. So what are we looking at? So you have a couple of view models that are, so that's your bindable base.
Yep, and I've got the main view model for that page that we saw, and that inherits from the bindable base, so I get all the notify property change and the MVVM goodness there. So in here, create a new one when it starts up. So I wire up some commands for the buttons, for the delete or the add. And then I have a method that populates all the data on startup.
Yeah. And how's your navigation look like?
So let's go down to those commands. So here I've got a navigation service.
Nice.
That's injected. And it's got a navigate to, where I give it the page I want to go to and the item ID that was selected. So I know which, if I'm doing an edit, I know which page or which item's data to bring up on that page.
Yeah, no, it's nice that you have the pattern in mind, and even like for demo code, you have things nicely separated out.
Yeah, so I've got the navigation service here for that.
Perfect. Yeah, it would have been awkward because like we didn't know Dan would show up, and then most of my stuff is in the code behind, and I'm very afraid to show it to Dan sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got for loading the data, I've got a data service which works for just hard-coded data, and then I've got a SQLite data service which loads it from a real SQLite data store.
Nice, nice. And where is SQLite saving to?
So that saves to your local storage in Windows.
Okay.
Let's pull that up here. So it's just got the name of the DB file here.
Right. Yep. Okay, so let me ask you this, Alvin. Your development experience here with the Microsoft WinUI package, it's really no different from a UWP app, right?
Yeah, it feels the same. The XAML schema is all the same. Yeah, so it feels just like UWP, and it feels familiar to WPF for Xamarin developers. You know, you've got some differences between those different XAMLs, but the principles are pretty much the same. Right.
So at this point, like the benefit that you're getting is being able to take this app outside of the UWP sandbox and being able to run it on .NET Desktop if you wanted to. Like not right now, but eventually you will.
Right. Yep. You'll be able to take it out of that sandbox. So right now, I don't have the. This is not the desktop version, but if you have the desktop one, you'd have a second project in here that kind of wraps it up for that whole Windows packaging.
Right. And you're still universal within Windows, right?
Right. This is still universal within Windows. Well, not quite universal with WinUI yet. They're still working on support for some of the other platforms. You can't do Xbox with it yet.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say to somebody who is maintaining an enterprise app in WPF, right? Okay. Would you say stick to WPF or jump ship if need be?
I don't know that I would take the time to migrate my WPF apps, especially larger ones, but if you're starting a new project in the next year, you might want to take a look.
Yeah.
And see if maybe you could, if you want to go cross-platform, maybe do something with .NET Maui and then have it target WinUI for the desktop piece of that. Yeah. I mean, in effect, like even WinForms, like WPF and WinForms will work just fine on .NET 5, and they will work just fine in .NET 6. So you have all of the latest runtime to run it on. Right. Keepers for T, you're hanging out with some older folks here, so we are just we are dropping acronyms that you don't know. WPF is Windows Presentation Foundation. This goes back to 2006, and this is the first time we started doing XAML. Like some of the markup that you see that Alvin has, that is XAML. It is XML, but it's a special dialect of XML and a lot of tooling around it. So WPF was the first time we saw XAML and C# together.
to write up the UI part of your app. So it's going strong for like 16 years now.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's really fine. And if you had, like, let's say an inking control or something that you needed from UWP, you can still embed that in WPF, right?
Yeah, you can still do that there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, sorry, before you go on, so Dan is saying something, which, good thing we don't have some of our web guys here, but HTML is a type of XML, which is true. They
Yeah,
just get
that is
very
true.
they just get very, very upset when we say that. But yeah, XML is fine for building up UIs. It's declarative, and you can do things in your markup. So no, keyboard first D, absolutely. Keeps things contextualized, absolutely.
Yeah, and people that use things like Angular and the data binding there should, we've got that here with
it is funny, Alvin, to see the web world rediscover the problems that we have had for years and years. Like the same data binding issues, the same navigation issues, the same patterns of injection. Like it's all the same, which is nice because it's nice level surface now for web and desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, like, if you needed a WinUI 3 control that you did not have in WPF, could you do that?
Yeah, you can do that with the XAML Island stuff.
Okay. So XAML Island is essentially like what it sounds like. It's an island that only knows how to render a specific thing that is not a part of the framework itself.
Right. And let me see if I can find one of the chapters. I've got some XAML Island stuff out here.
Oh, nice. What are your chapter names? Like, what are some of the? I'm just curious here. What are some things you cover?
Let's see. Do I have the table of contents right here? No, they really need to put that on the Amazon page. But I can go over just some of the things I cover. So I have a couple chapters on MVVM.
Nice.
And yeah, I've got a whole chapter on the Windows Community Toolkit, going through the different things available in there. And XAML Islands is covered in that. And then I've got chapter 12 here is a chapter where I use the WebView 2 to embed a Blazor app inside a WinUI desktop app. So yeah, so I've got the Blazor.
Yeah, this is a fun way, and then you can see Microsoft pushing hard on this. The WebView 2 that Alvin is talking about, that's the latest little version of Chromium or Edge you can run and embed in your Windows apps, and it'll load up whatever web content you give it. So speak of HTML, speak of Blazor, Angular, React, doesn't matter. It will just load up whatever, and it's nice.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's very fast. Yeah. So yeah, whichever one you want to show us, like XAML Islands, let's start there.
Okay. You find one of these guys. I've got a whole bunch of things I just started there. I'll pull one up and see how it looks. Pick this most recent one. This one uses WPF core. And I think XAML Islands right now still is supported just with .NET Core 3.1. It's got issues with .NET 5. I think you can make it work, but for out of the box, it's easiest to go with 3.1.
Yeah, I mean, these things are interesting. The way we're crossing some boundaries here with XAML Islands, going all the way back into WinForms or WPF, and then WebView 2, like you mentioned. Like that is probably a legit strategy if you want to modernize some of your desktop investments and bring in some web stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So here I have a WinForms and a WPF one. So let's just
nice.
Pull up this window, see what that looks like.
Is your fan running? On? I don't hear it actually. You have a good mic then.
Yeah, I have some noise cancellation on, but it's definitely running.
So while it's coming up here, let's try to answer or talk about what Dan is mentioning here. I'm trying to understand how 3.1 is supposed to be LTS, but they encourage everyone to move off 3.1 to 5 or even 6 pre. What's the point of an LTS 10? Yeah. So what Dan is referring to, LTS, is sorry, folks. Like, again, this is what you get by like when you hang out with older folks like us. We have acronyms. LTS is long-term support, which is where you pick up a Microsoft tech and you build something with it, and you have support for at least 10 years, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So enterprises like LTS support because it gives them stability and some confidence. So what Dan is talking about is .NET Core 3.1. That was the last LTS release. .NET 5 is actually not LTS. Every alternate one is. So .NET 6 will be LTS. And so what Dan is saying, they are encouraging people to move, but like on your own terms, I think is what they're trying to say. Like, you don't have to move if you don't have a need. And that's like whenever like Alvin or me or Dan, whenever we talk to our customers, like that's always like, do what is right for your app and your business, right? There is a lot of cool stuff happening, but you don't always have to jump to the greatest thing if there is no immediate value to it. So take your time to migrate, and then, yeah. I know some folks have been waiting on .NET 6, because that's LTS. But again, to me, it really doesn't matter. Like most apps, you are not writing for like a 10-year thing. You're writing for a few years, and even without LTS, like .NET 5, you're fine for like 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. So here's some of the XAML Island stuff. The XAML host is what you can use to host a custom WinUI app in there. So if you have your own control in another project, you can host that inside your WPF.
Nice. So you just bring in a NuGet package and wait. So now I'm confused. Like, are you hosting this WPF inside the WinForms, or what are you hosting?
No. So this WPF is going to host just a pre-built thing. I just had a project here where I had WPF and WinForms that could both host something.
Okay. So when you do host, like, could you show us like how the XAML looks like?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do and add this package. It looks like I just had an empty project here. So I'm looking to add something to it.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. While you're doing that, Dan is saying the Scots, and by the Scots, he means the 3 Scots, maybe the 2. So Scott Hunter and Scott Hanselman, they own much of the .NET ecosystem and the tooling around it. And Scott Guthrie is maybe a little higher up, and he owns all of Azure. But again, I mean, it's the job of the Scots to show you the future with .NET. So yeah, they recommend that you update all the time, which can be crazy. Yeah, I think most enterprises don't. They wait and watch, and they let things stabilize before they jump on.
Yeah, for sure. It can be hard to get an enterprise to move on to the latest and greatest.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got this installing here. Let's go to the docs while we wait for that. We can see the...
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot with Islands, so I'm curious. Like, can you take like a piece of WinUI 3 XAML and just like shove it in as is if you have the right namespaces?
So you can take a control from your WinUI 3 project, and yeah, you can just shove it right into a WPF or a WinForms app and have things kind of work pretty well.
This is what you get when you're jaded like us. And when we're talking, Marcus, voice programmer, hey, good to see you. Good to see you. They're probably showing you something new, and you need the latest right anyways. Yes. And you're going to see a lot of that at Build that's coming up in 2 weeks. No, less than 2 weeks, actually. But there's I'm sharing some insider information here, but like Build is so much bigger than just .NET. I think they have a limited number of .NET sessions, but you are going to see the Scots talk about what's coming up in .NET 6. You'll probably have a preview drop and some updates to Maui and some updates to WinUI 3. But yeah, Marcus, you're right. It is their job to show you what's latest and greatest, and then slowly get enterprises and developers excited to start using some of the latest things.
Right.
Okay, so what are we looking at here, Alvin?
So here are the docs. We've got it's showing you here. You can host it, in Canvas, Ink Toolbar, which are WinUI controls. Put those inside your WPF or your WinForms app. So you just need the WPF WinUI controls.
Nice.
That's down here.
And again, while you are doing that, Dan is saying maybe some updates from him at Build. So in that case, Dan, you are royalty and you don't deserve to be hanging out with us. But I'm very curious and very interested now.
Yeah, Dan's going on the big stage. Is he going to be up there with the Scots?
They have been recording stuff. You can see their Twitter feeds, and yeah, it's understandable. Like for something like Build, with such a huge audience, like even with all of our tech and all of the network, like it's just too much of a risk sometimes.
Yeah, and it's
everything
also,
live.
It's also virtual too. Yeah. All right, so since I have an empty project here, I'm just going to copy and paste this and see what we got. Oh, here, copy button.
Fuel Snabble is saying, "Who are the Scots?" Okay, so I'm going to say, "Oh wait a minute, I have too many computers. I have like one keyboard for Mac, one for Windows. So Scott Hunter. No, wait a second. I can't even type here. Where is my stuff?
There we go. We need to add the controls."
So those are the two Scots, Fuel Snabble, that Dan is talking about. You should go look them up and follow them. Yeah, really. I mean, if you're a .NET dev, you really should follow these two Scots. They have all the news.
All right, so I copy and pasted that code just from docs there, and you can see in the preview, it looks like we're going to have the toolbar and the canvas pop up on this window after adding those NuGet packages. Let's run it and see how this works.
So this one is still a WPF app.
We got build errors. Yes, this is a WPF .NET Core 3.1. Let's see what we got. Lovely version issues.
Lovely version issues. Yeah. Dan is saying I should use share mouse. I've heard about this. I have one keyboard and mouse and the mouse goes from one computer to another. Yeah, I should look into that. Does it work for Macs? Maybe it does. Yeah. Yeah, but I have these two things here. Oh, hold on. If I can. So I have this thing, which is, this is my Mac keyboard, and then I have this thing, which is my Windows keyboard. I do run Windows inside of a Mac, like a VM a lot, but I also have a machine that sits under my desk, which is my beefier Windows machine.
Nice. Here we go. It's because I was targeting .NET 5, I think.
Yeah. So what are some things that you may want to do XAML islands for? Things like, you said Ink Canvas was one?
Yeah, the Ink Canvas is one. So the WebView 2 is really the same kind of deal where you're hosting that guy within you can do it in WinForms WPF. And you can also do it with custom controls. Say you have an existing UWP or WinUI control, you can put that inside a XAML Islands control on WPF or WinForms. So you can integrate maybe some of your newer stuff with your older stuff. And that's something that we've done in the past as older guys, where we put some WPF within a WinForms control or vice versa.
And it's nice that you can do that because, again, like I think you hit the point on the head here. Like if you have anything reusable, like a custom control, you can do that. You can share that across these frameworks.
Right.
Oh, Field Schnabel, if I hope I'm saying your name right. That is a $1 million question. Will Maui be coupled to Xamarin, or is it an independent tech? Where do we even begin? Yes, yes and no. So .NET Maui is the evolution of Xamarin Forms. So if you're a Xamarin Forms dev doing XAML in C#, which is a slightly different XAML than the XAML that you're seeing Alvin do, it is going to be similar. Your experience isn't going to change. Some namespaces, some packages will change, but it's not entirely independent. It is going to be running on .NET 6, as we have seen with the last previews. They have .NET Maui running on Preview 3 and, of course, Preview 4 that only Dan is playing with apparently at this point. But it is not independent, but it should give you more confidence, like especially Windows. Like Xamarin Forms has depended on UWP to reach Windows, but it's just been a fuzzy story. But WinUI 3 should give you a lot more confidence, and you should be able to get to Mac desktop much more confidently with Catalyst and other things. And yeah, what Dan is saying, like the Xamarin brand is no more. Like the tech isn't dying, but the Xamarin brand is no more, because it's what was Xamarin iOS and Xamarin Android is now essentially .NET for iOS and .NET for Android, and Xamarin Forms becomes .NET Maui. So essentially, it's all part of .NET now.
All right. So I've given up on that project. I'm bringing up one that I have in the book.
That's why you have the begin and the end.
Yep. So I've got a WPF app here that loads up a WinUI map control.
So is the map control different in WinUI versus WPF?
Yeah, I believe it is different. This is, I think, the updated version of the old UWP control for maps.
I see.
So I've got several things in here. I've got a UWP app that I'm hosting and some other things. I've got the browse control map one. And hopefully this will come up before the end of the stream.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even notice time. We have been almost close to an hour. I have a meeting at the top of the hour, so we'll end right up there.
And here we go.
No, I mean, WinUI is legit. I mean, Microsoft is pushing it as the future of Windows development. So clearly, they are excited about this, and sometimes it's about like validation from the ecosystem, right? And if you're looking at all of the component builders, and it's not just like I work for Progress, I work for Telerik, so like we have WinUI controls, and we just came out with a release yesterday that actually runs on ProjectReUnion 0.56, which is the incremental build after 0.5. So this is it. And again, I mean, you see others building WinUI UI components as well. So this is legit, and this is the thing forward.
Yeah, for sure.
No, go on, Alvin.
So the other thing that we didn't really touch on is for cross-platform, the other option out there is Uno.
Yeah, if you want to do Windows, if you want to do UWP Windows and XAML Windows, then go to Uno for cross-platform. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Fool Schnabel, you're killing us here.
Oh.
You are coming up with all these difficult questions. Can I build WinUI in Fsharp? Alvin?
I don't know if any Fsharp support yet now, but it's open source, so maybe create a giant pull request for Fsharp.
Yeah, I don't even know. I think for Maui, they are looking at Fsharp support. They have some fundamentals in. It's not much, but if you did want to write Fsharp and if you wanted to render native controls on Windows, then look at .NET Maui, because I think they are, I mean, they cannot promise this until release, whether Fsharp support will be there officially. But at least if you tinker around their GitHub repos, they have the project to support Fsharp. But I don't know if Fsharp is coming to WinUI 3 directly.
Yeah, so the other thing that you could probably do if you're doing the desktop with .NET 5, if you decouple your things well enough, you could write some Fsharp projects for all your services, even your view models, if you get those out into a separate assembly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, so let's see if we can run this Maps app.
All right, last 8 minutes here, Alvin. Let's see if your Visual Studio can pull it up.
And this little Maps app, if it comes up, it's got a main window with the map, and then it's got another child window it can launch with a browser in it with the web view. So this will be pretty good.
Nice. I'm going to pull up your book so we can drop a link.
Nice. And while that's spinning, I will try and find the page from Packet that has the chapters on it.
I have never done a search on Alvin Ashcraft on Amazon. That's something.
You haven't searched for any portraits of me or anything on Amazon?
So there. Okay.
So they've got a chapter list here on the Packet page.
Oh, there you go. Nice, nice, nice. And okay, so maybe I was saying your name wrong. Also, people tend to call me Fuel. Okay, so Fuel Schnabel. I'm just going to call you that. I don't need any designers for Fsharp. If it is .NET, as long as I can create components programmatically in Fsharp, that would work. Yes, technically. That's what Alvin was saying. Like, if you have things separated out, maybe you can bring it in as a .NET standard library, because then everything should work.
Right.
Yeah.
So while that's spinning up here, see, we've got intro, we've got the MVVM chapters, like I mentioned.
Nice, nice.
A chapter for just exploring the controls. Data and services is where we add the SQLite. Chapter on Fluent Design.
Nice. Okay, so that's one of the key things that you get from WinUI 3. Like with WPF and WinForms, you can do like styles and themes, but it's not truly the design system that Windows uses. But WinUI 3 components are fluent from the get-go.
Yep, they're fluent out of the box. You get things like the theme support and the light and dark. When you switch that, the app automatically changes for you.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
We've got the .NET 5. This is the desktop stuff. The toolkit, XAML Islands chapter, nice. Deployment and debugging. Here's the Blazor chapter.
Yes. So one quick second here. Full Snapple is asking, what does Fluent thing mean? So Fluent is the Windows design system, right, Alvin?
Right. It's like Google has the material design.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all modern Windows apps, if you go to the Windows Store and download any apps, they're supposed to be, all of the ones that Microsoft's made are supposed to be using the Fluent design system. Okay.
Right. Did I kill Windows here? Nope, it's responding.
Looks like it's a matter of Thursdays for your Visual Studio.
Yes. Let's kill some other windows here and see if we can.
No, but we get it. So look at XAML Islands if you have to embed stuff into WinForms or WPF.
Right.
Look at WinUI 3 if you have to use the latest and greatest UI UX stack that uses WinUI 3, runs on desktop right now, but will run on UWP, which includes Xbox and HoloLens and other things in future by the end of this year, hopefully. And look at .NET Maui then if you have to go cross-plat with your XAML, and then look at Uno if you have to go cross-plat with UWP XAML.
Right.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, and if you have any web content you need to embed in your Windows stuff, you can use the WebView 2 for WPF or WinUI. I've got the Blazor sample here, but you could do the same thing with any PWA like Angular or React. You can put those all within there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they're being smart. So they have a thing called the Blazor Web View, which is essentially just a wrapper that embeds the Web View 2 control in it. And you can actually write Blazor code that runs fine on WinUI and other things. And the nice thing about the Blazor Web View is it chooses the latest Web View in every platform. So if you're running it on Windows, it'll choose Web View 2. But if you're running it on Mac, like the way I do, then it chooses what's called the WK Web View, which is the Safari WebKit Web View. So you are getting the latest Web View no matter what.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So, Alvin, thanks for writing a book. That's a lot of effort, man. Thanks. Yeah. Good for you to write up a whole book. And I wish you the best of luck with this book and any more that you might write. And thanks for doing the morning dews. I know it's a lot of work every day. Or how much do you publish? Is it every day?
Yeah, it's every weekday, and
Every
I've got
weekday.
some tools to help me there. I have a custom plugin I use to pull in all the links.
Nice.
Yeah.
Still a lot of work. So thank you for highlighting all that the community does. And yeah, where can people find you? Is that your Twitter handle? That's your name?
Twitter handle on most of the socials is Alvin Ashcraft, and then my main blog is on alvinashcraft.com. And I've got WinUI.tips is another blog for WinUI.
Nice. Very cool. So you're excited. Let me ask you one last thing. Like, what are you looking forward to for WinUI and like your Windows dev stack for the rest of the year and maybe like 2 years from now? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing how WinUI evolves with ProjectReUnion and how that's going to, I guess, come together with .NET Maui, and see if we'll ever see like one code base for everything. I think that's the goal, the pie in the sky goal.
Absolutely. Well said. I'm going to try doing something here if it works. But Alvin, thanks for taking the time out. I know we wanted to do this last week, but Alvin's hairstylist didn't show up.
Yeah, big problem.
Yeah, we're all busy and work stuff comes up and takes precedence. But thank you, Alvin, for taking the time out to come and hang out with me, show us some cool things with WinUI 3. You are clearly excited, and I think we should all be excited that this is the future of Windows dev. So go learn more, folks. You know where to look at the GitHub repos. You know Alvin's book now. So yeah, let's go build some stuff and yeah, come and join us for any upcoming streams if your time permits. Next week is actually going to be interesting because we had a huge release drop yesterday. So we're going to cover all of the cool things with WinUI and Blazor and WPF and Xamarin. So next week is going to be a lot of like product-centric things we'll cover. But come and join us whenever your time permits throughout the week. I see Fritz is still on and going strong, so we might go raid his thing after this. But thanks, folks. Thank you for hanging out with us. Alvin, thank you one more time.
Sure, thanks for having me on.
For doing this. And everyone in the chat room, hang on. No, it did not work. So let me do that one more time. Hold on. C# Fritz. Will that work? Maybe. Oh, it is in process. Okay. So thank you, folks. And Dan and everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. We shall see you on the next one. So thank you.